Hey, this is Emmanuella and Craig.
Hey,
Welcome to TruthAmp. We are here to discuss all the AI developments that are happening very rapidly in the world from the perspective of two experts in our field, but I am not necessarily an expert in tech. That's Craig's department. So, my point of view is going to be on how the humans are responding. I have called this session
the
today. Usually
urgency.
Craig leads, but yeah, I'm jumping in on this because I saw something in my social media feed that I actually thought couldn't possibly be real. And it is. It turns out, with a little bit of searching on legitimate kosher search engines, we have a thing called Nano banana.
Yeah.
That is, I'm sure there's a much more grown up, legit word for it. I think like GPT-5 or something. But at the end of the day, all the kids online are calling this nano banana like the next big thing
Yeah.
in AI and imagery. And so, Craig, I'm calling
I
this
never heard of
in
it.
because I want to discuss.
I never had to Google this because I had no idea what nano banana
It
was.
doesn't sound real, right? It doesn't sound
So what
real.
caught your eye?
And I think so. This is what I think is really interesting is how marketing is going to play a huge role in AI as well. Because I think that where there's lots of different people out there making this kind of tech, what is it that determines that these are the things that get our attention that we end up using? Like, of course, the minute I hear about it, now I want to jump online and have a
Yeah.
play. But part of my feed was all these examples of how you could take a photo of someone and put their face like with one second of footage you could create like a 3-minute video of this person doing these things where it looks like they're really doing it. And at first I was like, oh my god, this is terrifying. And then when I had a little bit of time to drink a coffee and zoom out, I realized, hang on, this was just the inevitable. And we're talking about this because it's been given a really catchy
Nano
name
banana.
that is,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's exciting and interesting. Like, it's a name that is outside of what the language has been around AI tech so far. And it makes it sound fun and it makes it sound safe. And I think that that's what's really interesting here is how we're being communicated something with the marketing, with the branding, with the words that we're using around it that makes it sound safe and fun and engaging. And obviously, as with anything, when we let humans start to drive the bus and we democratize it, we let everyone have a kind of equal voice in this, you're going to have some dark players. And so it's just a matter of time till this becomes terrifying.
Yeah.
Over to you, big
Yeah.
guy.
Well, I immediately went and had a drive of this, and I'm going to try something that we haven't tried in this particular thing before, and I'm going to share. Can you see this? This is a photo of me. Yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah, you look young
Yeah.
and very polished, like you've had a lot of Botox, buddy.
Well, to be honest, this was actually generated by AI. This is one of these photos that
You look dead behind the eyes, like Max Verstappen.
well, that is actually how I feel sometimes. So I showed you that. Now the one thing that
Yeah.
bothered me about that photo was that suit, and I thought that. So I went on the nano.
Hang on, show me again.
Oh yeah,
Show me what's wrong with the
okay.
suit.
I just
Because I know that you like this is going to reveal how long we've known each other. But I am very aware. Oh yeah, I can see that there's issues now. It looks like you've been working out far more than you have. Almost like your head's been put on a different way. The thing is, like, you pride yourself on having suits that because you travel so much, your clothes don't crease.
mm,
Looking like you're wearing an expensive suit, I don't think is overly problematic, except that your shoulders look like
okay.
you've been eating the same thing as the Hulk
Okay,
for
well, enough
breakfast.
comments about my looks.
Wasn't it?
Lest I return the compliment. Um,
Well, no. Well, I've shown up to things before I updated my marketing photos. I've shown up to things where when I first had the kids, I had a short bob because it was a lot more
yeah.
manageable. And I showed up to speak at something, and a lady looked at me and she's like, "You don't look like
Hey,
you do in your photos.
I,
You have a
I
short
do
bobby."
have
And I was like,
I do have some
"The
examples coming
content's
up
the
where
same."
I've taken photos of you and I've fed them into the model. So hold on.
Oh dear Jesus. The thing is, like, we do look different on different days depending on
Yeah.
what we wear, but that's very I didn't realize how important it was to our audiences as public speakers that the person that they see on the stage looks like the person in the photos. And I'm starting to really realize that now when you go to conferences, for example, where do you have the Q? Have you been encountering these QR codes for LinkedIn where people just
Yeah.
hold
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
phone and now they're putting them on your
Mhm.
badges as a speaker? And it's becoming really important that the person that's standing in front of them looks like the person on the photo. Are we going to look like a hyper-real version of ourselves? Like, where's all of this going, Craig?
Yeah, look, I don't know, but I just can I go back to the suit?
Yeah.
The suit was the thing that
Go back to the
the suit was the thing that bugged me, and so I asked the model. I said, I want to look silicon.
What bugged you about the suit?
Let's not go into the suit. I just
Okay.
didn't like the shirt. I didn't like the cut. Any case,
So you wouldn't have chosen that outfit?
yeah. And the AI
Gotcha. Okay.
headshot created that suit. So I decided,
Because it made you look like a
yeah,
90s
yeah,
real
yeah,
estate agent. I understand your
yeah. I
concern.
decided to ask the model that I wanted to look Silicon Valley chic.
Oh, no. Where's this going? Okay, red
So you
sneakers.
ready for what the model did?
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
This is going to
Here
be
we go.
great.
Is that the same one? Can you see it?
Wearing a sweatshirt and a black t-shirt and jeans,
Yeah.
and you look like you've just rolled out of your mum's basement where you've been playing video
Silicon
games
Valley.
for
So,
12
so
hours.
people in
Okay, so
Silicon,
it's kind of on point.
yeah, people in Silicon
Yeah,
Valley obviously
okay.
dress like.
Okay, so
One of
this
those.
is a really important point to clarify. It's not that necessarily people in Silicon Valley dress like this. This is what AI
Yeah.
thinks people in Silicon Valley look like. And this is the distinction that we need to really focus on if we're going to keep some kind of hold on our reality, is to develop the ability to have critical thought around, is this real, or is this just what the AI engine has observed as enough of a pattern to believe that that's what's real? So I think we have to look at some developments in our language where we start to distinguish what's real and what the AI thinks. And I think it's problematic when we start to speak about them as if they're the same thing, because I've mentioned this before, looking up some of the psychology research for work, there were some really well-known models where I wanted a summary of it. And AI was skipping whole segments. So you'd have like 3 out of 5 things. But AI has this bias where it says things as if it's fact. And
Yeah.
you have to be savvy enough to know to catch it out on that, to find if there's any mistakes. And not everyone's going to, like students who are just studying psychology for the first time, for example, wouldn't know to look for that.
But the funny thing is, you can actually use these models for helping you with critical thinking. You can ask it to help with,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And so it's, I find that.
Does Amazon have a version of Nano Banana?
Yes, yeah.
Like, what does it look like over in Amazon land?
So we've got a class of models called Amazon Nova Canvas, and they can do text to image generation. And I think the important thing is around intellectual property. So these models are trained on
Okay.
large amounts of data, and people who use these models want to be protected from IP claims. And so, yeah, when people use Amazon Nova Canvas, they get full protection of provided by us for indemnity from intellectual property, and also all the models created by Canvas actually have a digital watermark in it, so you can a system can detect that it's AI generated, which is a really.
Do you might not remember this or have even been paying attention, but when Photoshop became really popular, there was a really big move, because I was working in Europe at the time with London Fashion Week. And there was a lot of stories about girls being underweight and having some pretty horrific outcomes with how thin they were, and the unrealistic beauty standards that we now all just live with. And I know we've talked about this before on Building a Better Geek in more depth, but there was a great big push to start putting warnings on images if the model had been photoshopped, and eventually I think that just got completely phased out, because the reality is that you don't have anything in a magazine now that hasn't been edited with some version of Photoshop. But the other thought I had was, what do you think determines us using? So years ago when AI first came out with images, like 2 years ago, you remember I made those invitations to my daughter's birthday party on Canva, Canva, the Australian tech company. And I was blown away by its ability to manipulate images then. I think what's distinguishing Nano Banana is 2 things. How it shows us that it makes it very accessible to manipulate not just images, but videos at a very high quality. And then secondly, the marketing around it. Like, the name is so catchy. I'm curious, why would I jump online and use Nano Banana as opposed to Canvas? aside from the fact that I just hadn't heard of Canvas or Nano Banana until 2 weeks ago.
It took me a while to find it,
Right.
and that's not as
So
not
we
as
can all
cool
use it
sounding
because
as
it's
Nano Banana.
what's the technical the grown-up name for it?
You can find it if you go to Google Gemini and just do image creation. There's a little thing there on the bottom.
Okay.
Can I show you another example?
Okay.
Because this is fun.
Yeah. This is the
And
fun
it gives
stuff.
us a chance to do a bit of cross promotion for building a better geek. So, do you remember this? This is the photo.
Okay, so what for those of us who are listening, not watching, what you're looking at is the marketing photo
Yes.
for our podcast, Building a Better Geek, which is a long form, in-depth discussion about the experience of human beings in the tech industry. And it's Craig and I talking across a desk, both wearing our headphones, talking into very sexy little microphones with a green background, looking very engaged and serious.
So I took this and I asked Nano Banana to basically put us into a fish tank. So we were.
This could be the new image for the TruthAmp.
Are you ready?
Edition.
So I wanted to put.
Yeah, here we go.
This is going to.
Where's this going? Okay, so what you now have is the image has managed to pick up on the fact that I'm quite unusually wearing green pants.
And a scarf.
I didn't even know you could see that in the image, and we are underwater at what looks the Great Barrier Reef, and instead of speaking into a microphone, we're blowing bubbles at each other, but we're still wearing our headphones. And bizarrely, on the floor of the ocean is a child's rattle, a rubber ducky, which we all know would have actually in real life floated to the top, and then a sinky and a submarine toy. That's absolutely bizarre. This kind of reinforces my point that when we talk about AI and its developments, we really do need to talk about the distinction between reality, as in IRL, real life, and what AI thinks is a problem. Do you want to send me a new thing and then you can? Okay, we're recording again. Okay, so
yep, take two.
Thanks for your patience, listeners. Our tech genius pressed the stop recording button instead of the share button.
That's right. I'll stop sharing now. We'll edit this out. Yeah,
I think that something that'll be very empowering for human beings is for us to be really careful that with our language, where we distinguish between IRL, real life experiences, and what AI thinks is real life, because this tech's only going to get better and better and more advanced. And I think that instead of feeling fearful, the strategy here really needs to be to inform ourselves and also empower ourselves with the language that we use around this stuff, and start to develop a culture where we start to distinguish between what's AI generated. And because, we look at a picture now on Instagram or TikTok and we know it's been edited. If we were looking at that same image 20 years ago, I don't think we would have had the savvy to understand that distinction, hence everyone's hair being on fire and us needing to have warnings on the magazines. No one looks at a magazine now. I would hazard most people wouldn't look at a magazine now and think that that's actually what that woman's going to look like when she's walking down the street.
That's true.
And so I think that all the fight and furore that went around that served a purpose to inform an audience. And I think that's the thing, is that we actually at the end of the day have a responsibility to inform ourselves, because unless it serves with the free media starting to become undermined and usurped by digital media, starting to critically think about whose agenda does this serve becomes really important. And the people who are creating the tech, it doesn't necessarily serve their ultimate goals to inform us and remind us that their tech is creating an alternate reality. That said, what's the name of the guy who created, he's got one of the biggest AI engines, and now he's created another piece of tech that literally detects AI use. And I think what's the name of that business?
There's a few of them around, and I think it's kind of like AI wars.
But it's his lovely little gay man, blonde hair, British, I think.
We'll put it in the show notes. Married.
Yeah. So, but basically, I heard about this yesterday. I was like, that's a very clever business model. What's the best, like the top 3 AI providers in the world. We've got
so there's OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, and
Anthropic. Yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's the guy who's got Anthropic has also now created tech to detect AI use. Like, that's a perfect business model. Create something that scares the pants off people that's very useful, and then create the tech that will provide them with a solution. Like, that guy's sorted.
Look, I think
I don't feel like he's going to have to wash dishes anytime soon.
Look, I suppose if we're going to wrap with our one takeaway and one thing we learned, one takeaway. Look, I'd say one thing I learned was that humans have always been creating images that are not reality, but are a reflection of reality, and so we've got to think about that. And
Michelangelo's David.
And the takeaway is that AI, and I think Simon Willison, who's a guy that I'd recommend if you're going to look up Simon Willison.
Wait, was Michelangelo or Da Vinci that did David?
Yeah, no, that was Da Vinci.
Yeah, I said Michelangelo. Okay. Doesn't matter.
But in any case, Simon Willison, he describes AI as a lossy encyclopedia, and that's a bit of a nerdy way of saying that it reflects this combined knowledge, but it loses fidelity the more it's used. And so we should always check ourselves on how we trust these things. What are your takeaways?
I think my takeaway is how important it is for us to be careful with our language when we speak about something and to inform ourselves, because we can't assume that everyone has access or exposure to the same level of critical thought or information or education that we have. But what we can do by being careful about how we speak about things is actually contribute to the zeitgeist or contribute to the community mind around how we think about things. And if, as leaders, for yourself in the tech industry and for myself working with leaders in the tech industry, what we do is model behavior where we are careful to distinguish between reality and a tech created thing. We set a tone that I hope will then be perpetuated among the people that might not have the same exposure to the education and information that we do have.
No, I agree. Well, thanks for catching up. I hope that image didn't blow your mind too much.
No, it's wild. Maybe we should keep playing with that and see if we can come up with some version of it. I don't know why you put us in a fishbowl, except maybe you're feeling.
I was trying to come up with something that was so ridiculous that it couldn't be true when it came.
Well, and did you notice though that it didn't do as it was told? It didn't put us in a fishbowl. It put us in the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah, which is kind of.
Let's continue to play with that. And for those of you who are early adopters of TruthAmp, the extension of Building a Better Geek, look out for a new bit of artwork coming your way. Craig and Em talking in a fishbowl. Not scared of the scrutiny. See you later, guys. Bye.